Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. We're back for round 2, day 1 of the Kaitlin Armstrong murder trial, second episode of the day. I thought it was going to be lengthy. Apparently, the afternoon session was not as lengthy as the first. So this is going to be a very short episode, but hey, we're getting it in, y'all. We're doing the best we can with no streaming. So thank you guys for being patient. Second music fact of the day. Van Morrison wrote one of my favorite songs ever, Into the Mystic, when he was 18 years old. It was released in 1970. He initially called it Into the Misty and later changed it to Into the Mystic. A lot of people feel like it's just very straightforward about a fisherman. When he hears the foghorn, that usually signals danger, but to him, it means he's close to his lover. But then if you look at the lyrics, we were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. Some people do think that this could be referencing the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, because the weather in Eden was perfect. And I'm guessing God hadn't created the sun or something when they were around. I don't know. My grandma would be very disappointed. But anyways, great song. Definitely in my top 5 of all time. I think that top 5 revolves a lot, though. All right. So what are my thoughts on today? I think this defense has got a big uphill battle to climb, not only just for the brutal murder of beautiful Mo Wilson. You have Kaitlin's antics of selling her car, running to Costa Rica with her sister's passport, booking everything in her sister's name, getting a facelift, and trying to escape just a few weeks ago. Y'all, what does that show? A big old consciousness of guilt. Now, her defense attorney in openings said that, hey, she likes to take trips on a whim. No big deal. That's explainable. And not only that, he sort of indicates maybe Kaitlin was fearful about something and that might be a reason she left. But when she got over there, what is she doing? Looking up stories about her, because at that point she was wanted. We have surveillance of her Jeep up and down that road an hour before and just after the murder of Mo Wilson. Just after that was heard on surveillance, like a minute later, maybe 2 later, she's seen leaving. Gonna be hard to wiggle out of that mess. As far as the feel in the courtroom, my listeners said that one juror was wiping her eyes at one point, I believe during the 911 call. We talked on the phone. I think she said the 911 call. A lot of you have asked, was Kaitlin's family there? My listeners said they were. So there you go. Let's jump into this. The first witness after break was Martin Salinas from the Austin Police Department. He was a newer graduate and he was on patrol with a training officer the night of the murder. You have a probationary period where you maybe 3 months, you have to have somebody superior in the car with you or a cop that trains new hires. They were dispatched for what was called an urgent welfare check. They were told the caller was trying CPR and they were told to have their lights blazing. Lights and sirens were to be activated as they responded. They had a hard time finding Cash's residence at first. In fact, knocked on a wrong door. The driveway is not very obvious. You have that small alleyway in the back, and this is not its own house. This is an apartment that is built onto the top of a garage. So you could see where that might be a little hard to find if you don't know where you're going. He said that when he made entry into the crime scene, he saw Mo's legs sticking out and he could hear Cash begging for somebody to help her. He took over CPR and said it was a very hard scene to walk into. Think about Cash, what she had to see and what she had to do to her friend that night is something I'm sure will never leave her mind. But last I heard, I believe she's still living in that place. And go for her. She's found enough peace to be there. So hopefully she can heal as she moves through this thing called life, because that's traumatic stuff, y'all. As he was trying to give Mo CPR, he spotted one shell casing on the floor that was just beside Mo's body. At this point, EMS arrives at the residence and they take over CPR on Mo. As he was back on his feet, he started to see additional shell casings on the floor. He called homicide, told them they're going to need to come to this scene. He said Cash was in total disbelief and shock. Cash realizes Mo's bike, it's not where it should be. They found it 15 to 20 feet away from the residence. Cash was taken to a police station and she talked to homicide investigators. Officer Salinas went back to the residence where he placed Mo's bicycle in the back of his patrol car. One of the last witnesses of the day is the one that actually spotted it. So this goes out of order a bit. Kind of bear with it. Cash told detectives that Mo was planning to get together with Colin. Nothing in the residence was out of sorts. Didn't look like there was a home invasion. Didn't look like anything was taken. They play Officer Selena's body cam footage that began at 10:01 p.m. on May 11th. They go to the wrong house. That's caught on body cam. They do find Cash's residence, and when they walk in, Cash is giving CPR to Mo. Apparently, you can see that on this video. Trigger warning, this is a true crime podcast, but I still like to give it out. There's some things in here regarding the condition of her body that is not pleasant. So you might want to skip ahead. Selena's told the jury that Mo seemed to be deceased when he got on scene. Other police officers start showing up, and someone says they have now found 3 shell casings there in the room. At this point, EMS is in the residence. They tell Officer Salinas to stop for a moment, and then EMS moves Mo's head. That's where they see the exit wound from one of those headshots. Around 10:07 p.m., Salinas leaves the bathroom, and EMS is heard saying that they're just going to call it because it's obvious that she's deceased. On body cam, Cash tells officers she knew Mo was with Colin earlier in the evening. So it jumps ahead to Cash in the police car. The officers looking up Colin Strickland's driver's license information. So on cross, they ask if there were any signs of forced entry, and Salinas says no. They ask when he quit working with the Austin Police Department, and he said on October 20th. He's currently unemployed and is looking for work as an officer, but not in Austin. Next witness, Chris Lester. He's with Travis County EMS. When he arrived on scene, they were still doing CPR. The fire department was trying to decide if they should keep going or not, and Mo had a large amount of blood pooled by her head. The area of blood was approximately twice the size of her head, so very clear, a devastating injury. Also, she had vomit coming out of her mouth. He said it was just very clear she was deceased. So on cross, he's asked how many of them were there once he arrived. He said there were 2 police officers and 4 firemen. When he first arrived, there were no other EMTs. However, he was only there less than 4 minutes. After a time of death was given for Mo, they all left. He asked if everyone had gloves on, and the witness says he doesn't remember about everybody, but he was. Next witness, Nathan Taylor. He was on patrol with Austin PD that night. He did not go inside the apartment, but worked on securing that outside parameter. They show his body cam footage that starts at 10:03 p.m. There's a citizen who was doing a ride along with the police that night. Get this, they do get out of the car. And they can kind of go close to the scenes. Y'all, I be running down the road. I call my kids. Y'all come get me. I'm done. Officer Taylor, he moves Mo's bike bag because it was down at the bottom of the stairs. He moves that into the grass, and he does that because he's worried somebody might trip and fall. On cross, the defense says that his role was to help secure the outside scene, and then he asked why. And the officer said, well, crime scenes can be contaminated. He's been over to 100 crime scenes in his time with the Austin PD. When asked if this had the potential to be a homicide, Taylor said he didn't have that type of information initially. Remember, he didn't go inside the apartment. There's only one way in, one way out of that apartment, and that is through the stairs. There was no suspect at the scene, and the defense asked if that suspect would have had to go down the stairs to exit the apartment, and Officer Taylor says yes. When asked about moving the bike bag from the bottom of the steps and if it's important to maintain the crime scene, he says preserving life is more important than where evidence is found laying. Nobody asked him to move it. Redirect. He was wearing gloves. The bag was in front of the stairs, and he moved it to keep somebody from falling over it. Next witness, Officer Padilla. He is with Austin PD. When his body cam footage is shown, he gets to the stairs and notices Mo's bike bag at the bottom of the step and says that's not normal. He gives the bag a little kick to make sure it's empty. And as he goes inside the apartment, they're taking Cash to the couch from the bathroom, and the bathroom is where Mo was. She's sobbing. She goes from the living room out onto the balcony. It tells a police officer that Colin took Mo swimming that day and says she talked to Mo around 5:30-ish. She tells officers around where Colin lives, but she doesn't know his address offhand. On redirect, the state mentions that he was part of the major crimes unit in Puerto Rico where he previously worked. They also asked if to him it looked like the suspect knew the victim, and he said yes. The next witness is Officer Lopez, Austin PD, veteran of nearly 30 years. They show her body cam footage. She walks towards the apartment and she's shining her flashlight all around looking for any signs of any evidence that might be laying around. Cash was overheard saying that Mo's bike is missing and it should have been by the door or inside the bag, but it's in neither place. Lopez was trying to help locate Mo's bicycle. She puts tape around the parameter and notices the bike. And she yells that she may have found something, and she also radios her discovery in. The last witness of the day, Sergeant Ronaldo Ramirez, Austin PD. He worked homicide for 5 years. He had several calls that night for overdoses or suspicious deaths. 2 of those were on hold at the time he got the call about Mo. Prior witness Officer Salinas called him initially, but didn't have much information to relay at that point. Ramirez told Salinas that he would be back in touch after he was finished with his other cases. But later on, Salinas called him back and said the death was suspicious, so Ramirez decided to call a superior to let homicide know. When he got to the crime scene, he looked for any bloodstains outside the residence. He was shown a red stain and it went for about a block, but it ended up being paint. Other homicide detectives arrived. They start working. At this point, Mo's body had been taken to the medical examiner's office. No signs of a struggle. The house was very clean, neat. He started canvassing to look for video. He said it also puzzled him where Mo's bike was found. It didn't seem like a theft. I mean, that bike's $10,000 to $13,000. Nobody's going to grab it and throw it in the woods, right? You could probably make money off that if somebody came in to steal, but that wasn't the case at all in this case. The next morning, he makes contact with a neighbor that had a camera. So they let the detective review that footage. He saw a dark SUV passing through and stopping outside the apartment. The Jeep drives to where you can't see it, but it's at the end of the driveway, and that's at 8:37 p.m. He sees the 3-bike rack on the back. He said that was suspicious to him. He thought the person who killed Mo knew her. What he saw where Mo was laying, also the gunshot wounds that Mo had, that would be a suspect shooting with intention, a suspect who was likely angry, and this was very personal to the killer. And we know that. It's crazy. Why are you killing somebody over a guy? I mean, really, I wish we were able to watch testimony. No dice, but I'm here and we're going to piece this all together. And we're going to do an episode every night. So thank you guys for sticking with me on this super short part 2. But hey, we got day 1 in. Let's keep going all this week. All right, guys, have a good rest of your evening. We'll see you soon.